Okay, we're now recording. Good evening, everyone. It's the 14th of June. Dallas Personal Robotics Group, Robot Builders Night out or virtual, however you care to think of it. We're going to do the usual, just go around the table tonight, talk about robot-y things or things related to robots. The main thing coming up is this coming Saturday is our 2022 edition of Roborama, held at the Dallas Makerspace, and I will post details for that into the meeting chat. There we go. Aside from that, I think we can probably dig right in. We have on board tonight Doug, and then Ted, and then Michael, and then Free For All. So I think Doug D, you jumped right in, so jump right in.
Okay, so it's been many moons since I was able to play with my robots, and I finally got back in the saddle, and I have very little new to show, but I can show that it still works. So let me start off down here. I have my attack dog in my lap. That is the robot, and let's see if I can make it go. I'm going to have to bounce over to my VNC, which you can't see right now. I can share my screen, but if you watch, you'll be able to see. I'm going to put this forward button. Oops, that was the stop button. There's the attack dog, which is why he's in my lap. So enough about the robot. It actually works. It still
Gold
works.
Star!
And okay, so you killed it. You killed it. I'll share my screen for just a moment.
Bark sound is realistic. Sounds like a real dog.
Is it tearing it to shreds right now?
It's tearing me to shreds because he's still on my lap. This is my, for those that remember, my control screen for the telepresence robot. You can see the camera's pointing at my back, and I've got forward stop, left and right, and I'm going to change that to be more of a differential control where you can say bear to the left or bear to the right. It'll have kind of a how far type thing here, and that will allow you to drive it more normally instead of right now you go forward until you decide to stop and turn left or turn right. That's just kind of awkward. So there's very little different on this than what I had before, but at least it's back up and running. And my get this back to minimized. Here we go. Another thing that I thank you for being quiet. Another thing that I was thinking about while I was getting back in the saddle is I had intended on the telepresence robot to have the iPhone on the extended thing and that running Google Meet, but I decided that wasn't a good idea, and for a couple of reasons. And all of them were actually surmountable, but with some difficulty. The biggest problem I had was that if it was running Google Meet and it was driving around Makerspace, it would be not just speaking me if I was the remote controller, it would be speaking everybody. Like it was your Google Meet computer. You'd have all the audio going off, not just me. So that's not a good telepresence thing. And I thought of a way with GPIO, I could kill its speakers remotely and only turn them on when I want to speak. But that was a little kludgy, and I tested Skype and probably also FaceTime, but Skype is better because it's more universally available on Android and other non-Apple things. Skype will work out just perfectly for telepresence. It shows you, it speaks when you speak, and the remote control aspect of the computer can still be controlled remotely by that one user, and I think that's the best of both worlds. So I just need to get going on that again and get it actually functional. I've decided that, and because I was having so much trouble with my electronics and the one I was building from scratch, I did something with the wires and they just quit working. but my Roby Senior, which Harold was so nice to give me, is still functional, and I'm going to make it my first telepresence robot and finally get it fully functioning. So, any questions?
Good progress. Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm finally done with that big software project that was eating up all my time. I wanted to actually try to get ready for Saturday, but turns out I have a prior commitment I can't get out of.
So you can get, but you're anyhow back in retirement, so that's good.
That's right.
Well, we'll miss you on Saturday then.
I know.
Yeah.
I was hoping to at least show up for a couple of hours, but I have a 2:00 thing. My daughter is doing Mother's Day, Father's Day combined, and I kind of have to be there.
Oh, if
Well,
you like,
Doug-
there should be a remote, so you can jump
Good
on.
idea.
Doug, I will say this,
Yeah.
getting it to rework after it's been sitting for a while is surprisingly hard.
It's
I mean,
extra surprising.
I'm trying to compete with 2 robots, and I swear, I have run into problems that I have never run into before. And the last one was this. See this wire?
Uh-huh.
It looks perfect. But what I had done, let's see if I can get it close. Is I had covered the end with a piece of heat shrink, okay, to protect it. Well, watch this. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
It's
it's
right
Yep.
there.
Yep.
And the
Brittle.
right is broken. But it's 2 ends kind of like this. So every once in a while it would work.
Yeah.
And I would be sitting there going, well, it just did it completely right. Why isn't it not doing it now? And,
So
But
full
I-
disclosure-
and then so once I did this, I was paranoid. So I took all the wires out
Oh, no.
and then I put them back in and I blew out an ultrasonic sensor because I flipped
Yeah.
the power in the ground, which by the way, the ultrasonic doesn't like. Just
Yeah.
so you don't have to try that experiment. Anyway, so it's just getting these guys to be where they were 2 years ago has been surprisingly hard.
Well,
But we'll see.
I feel your
Yes.
pain because full disclosure, my robot has a Arduino controlling the motors and sensors, and then it's got a Raspberry Pi controlling the higher intelligence, which isn't very much right now. But I had like 3 different versions of that Arduino code spread around my. I wasn't sure which one was on there, and I didn't want to start modifying it before this meeting because I wanted it to actually work tonight.
Yeah.
Then I'll start modifying it.
Well, I know that one too because
Yeah.
I tend to create a project, okay, and I'll give it some weird name. But 2 years later, when you have 20 of those projects, it's hard to realize which one was the exact one that's on there right now. Yeah, so
Right.
it's a pain. There's got to be a better way than I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not talking about not using Git. That's not the problem. The problem is what project are you running? And that's a little. I got to figure that one out.
Yeah, so what I do, Doug, is I have it output the serial when it starts up what the version and name of the software is.
That's okay. I've done something like that, and that's a good thing. But you have to be sure that you change it for every project.
Exactly.
Right, and that was then I'm not always that good on that sort of those details. So, but no, that's mine. Names, makes it unique. But I'm going to take that idea a little bit further and try to keep it in the future because it wasn't too hard finding the right stuff this time, but it could have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could have been. I mean,
All
I
right.
had several versions that it could have been, but luckily I didn't. That wasn't the hard part. And
So
we'll
Ted,
see.
do you compile it in your code, or does it auto read it from somewhere?
No, I just compile it into the code.
Yeah.
I mean, the Arduino you have to compile to send it to. That's why you can't look at the code and see which one it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
once it's in there,
it's
yeah,
like-
you don't know which one's on on the robot, and
Right.
but what Ted's doing is, and what I'm starting to do is, so like when it first starts up, while still in setup, after you've set up your serial port, it says something like Club Robot with navigation program, version X. All right.
Yeah.
And
That's the
now
next
all you
one.
have to do is search for that string in your programs.
Yeah, now what Carl might have been suggesting is you use some macros or something fancy to auto update that version name.
Yeah,
Jump in an EEPROM or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Is
what I
that-
do too.
I haven't found a clean solution. That would be a nice approach, but I haven't seen it so often.
Well,
I'm going
if
to
you're
try to
using-
implement it this year.
if you're using GitHub Actions on have a runner on whatever compiler for your Arduino on your laptop or whatever computer that does these compilings, and you use GitHub and then you push it into it, push into a PR or whatever it is, it has those kind of numbers built into it. And if the runner knows, because you can tell the runner, hey, when I push into main, download the code and go compile it and make me a thing. And you can certainly set all that stuff up. I was playing around that with Mr. Big Head a couple of weeks ago, and that was so much fun. That I'm about to write an abstract on intro to GitHub Actions and do that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Didn't mean to take it over. I was just saying there is a
No, that makes sense, Cyril.
there's a way to do what you just asked for using Git, and I wasn't aware. I was kind of aware of it, but I didn't understand how straightforward it could be. I don't want to say the word easy because I certainly had my head banging minutes, but yeah, it's great. I think it's great, and especially nice and affordable for us hobbyists too. The cost is spot on.
Yeah, I was just fixing to admit/commit to using GitHub this year to help solve that problem. Because if I at least have the current version on GitHub, I know where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I release my time to the next person.
Ed, I think you're next in line, and then after you, Michael.
All right. Yeah, so I came across a small solar panel with a trickle charger for a battery. And so, of course, I had to take things apart and kind of see how this was all working. And there was an indicator LED, and it was, let's see, in parallel with 3 regular diodes. I think maybe, and the diodes were in series. So I think maybe they were there to drop the voltage or something. Actually, I have a picture of it. And I was just wondering if anyone had any ideas of what on earth that's doing, because I'm used to usually seeing diodes with current limiting resistors, but this one didn't have one. And so I was kind of mystified what's going on there.
There's some of those diodes out there that have that limiting resistor in them.
Well, but okay, so 3 diodes in series, right? They're gonna tend to limit the maximum voltage across the LED, right?
Right, and I measured it, and it seems to drop it to like 2
1%.
volts, 1.8.
Yeah.
Well, I would say
I
that
believe
based on what you're
High
saying,
current diode.
is your LED is either green or what? It's not a red LED.
Yeah, it's a green LED.
Yeah.
And I tried upping the voltage to like 28 volts, and it, the diode, and I was
Good.
putting through a couple amps, and the diode didn't burn out, which was surprising. So
But
something's
those what they're doing is the forward drop on those normal diodes is about 0.6 volts. Okay. So by putting 3 of them, they get about 1.8.
and that's why I measured.
And that's the forward drop of your green LED. See, each color, blue, clear, has
Yeah.
a different voltage, and one
Yeah.
of them, I can't remember them all. One is 2.2, red is 1.2, so it's the lowest. And so depending on what color LED you have, they would have to modify that circuit a little bit. So, but for a green one, I believe it is 1.8. And that's what's going on now. So when you were putting 2 amps through that, you were actually putting 2 amps through that diode string.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
got a little bit hot.
Yeah, I bet they did. So it's still, this is because it's solar, all right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for a solar panel. It's
Right.
a trickle charger. I was just wondering why the 2 amps didn't go through the LED.
Because of forward resistance.
Well, but it'll be split between the 3 in
Yeah.
series and the LED, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But why didn't like half of it go through the LED and burn it out?
Higher resistance.
It must,
The voltage current, so you're biasing that to a certain, and
yeah, you're pegging you're limiting you're putting the voltage at a certain voltage. You'd have to look on the curve. Your LED, did it get brighter when you punched more through it?
It did get brighter, yes.
Okay, real bright?
I don't know
What you're
about real
doing-
bright.
Think of the curve as like something like this, okay?
Yeah.
And but so you're sliding back and forth here,
Okay.
depending on how much current you put. All right, so that's how, if you're back here, the resistance of that LED is going to be quite high, and all will go through the other ones.
Oh,
Okay,
that makes
but if
sense. Yeah.
But if you get up here, it'll get real bright, and eventually you'll burn it out. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of somebody knows somewhere the current that's going to be going through that thing.
Yeah. Anyways, it was kind of a cool design for a LED indicator.
Yeah, I think that they've been making LED light bulbs cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and they do a lot of weird stuff like that.
You got to figure, Ted, if all of that 2 amps, and it's not true because it was lighting the green LED, but if roughly all of that almost 2 amps went through those 3 LED in series, then that would be 2 amps across about 2 volts. So roughly 1 watt. So
Yeah.
you'd be dissipating nearly a third of a watt in each of those diodes in series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't run it very long because it started to get a little smoke smelly.
Yeah. Yeah.
and streets are like these small ones. This one is like a and it's total batteries.
Your connection is really choppy.
You're breaking up there.
$6 million man, you're breaking up.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah.
He's
Somebody
frozen.
give him the number for Starlink.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyways, that's what I had.
That's cool. So what are you going to do with your trickle charger circuit then, or your solar panel?
I'm thinking of, so part of this, the 2 amps was putting in a bigger solar panel so I could charge a 12-volt battery for just being out in the field and having some power.
Nice. All right.
I don't. Usually, you need a reverse blocking diode with panel. So that your-
Yeah, there
through?
might have been a reverse blocking diode in there somewhere also.
That's what 3 diodes are in series.
Again, you're
That's
breaking
what
up.
those 3 are.
Okay.
That's what those 3
Oh,
that
are. Okay, Ray,
sometimes
we're going
for
to get
a-
fast this time, Ray. All right.
I think what Ray was trying to say is that the breakdown voltage of LEDs typically is not very good. Okay, they don't make a good, you think of a diode as passing current one way and not the other way. Well, that's true, but those three little diodes that you had probably had 100-volt breakdown on each one of them, so it had a total of 300 breakdown. The one on your other one is probably a lot less than that. So you might have to put a diode in line with it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to depend on the reverse voltage capability of the LED.
Okay. I think next we had Michael. You had a point or a question, or we were missing you last night.
I just kind of want to share where I'm at.
Right?
I actually had wheels on this earlier, but not anymore.
Uh-oh.
This is what I'm going to enter into Saturday. But anyway, so here's the deal. I don't have any PID knowledge, or I've never messed with encoders. The robots I built were like line following. So and the other code I've written was the code, just the stuff in the kit. Or the other code that I've written was for my claw machine. So I don't have any PID experience. So I found out, unless y'all correct me, I'm going to need PID.
No.
And I couldn't to keep it to run straight.
Well, I mean, it would help, but I mean, so my wife's 11-year-old cousin was with us last night. So John and I and David Anderson and my 11-year-old cousin were there, and he was running that. Remember that little blue robot I showed with well, he had another copy of that. It was better weight balanced because he didn't screw it up like I did. But he was just dialing it in by empirical measurements. So he gave both wheels the same power, and it kind of like veered to the left. So he started to give the left wheel more power, and he pretty much, I think he's actually going to do pretty good this Saturday just by timing it and like.
Good.
My girlfriend thinking I came to the family vacation for her.
And that's no PID loop, no encoders, no nothing.
Okay, so, I did that with just, adjusting the PWM on one wheel, and it would never run consistent. So I thought, I've got these little things right here. I wanted to try it with these, and I'm not done messing with these. So I never could get it to be consistent. So I give up on that, at least with these motors. So I tried to find, and it's just that I'm under the gun. I ain't got a lot of time left. So I tried to hunt, these kind of encoders, these optical, that aren't quadrature, and the code out there for this kind of encoder is really hard to find. But you can find quadrature all day long. Because all I was going to do was kind of like, copy and paste and then edit what I needed just to get through the competition this week. Just to get it to run, once you get it to run straight, I can do the counting and all that stuff. So, is somebody going to say something?
Yeah, I'm going to say, Mike, it's not I call those tachometers, okay? And I know there's other names for them, but when they don't have quadrature, I just call them tachs. And that, all you have to do is count the pulses. The only thing you have what quadrature gets you is typically more pulses because there's 2 channels, and there's also gets you direction. You can tell the direction. But in your case, if you're going to do 4 squares, guess what direction you're going to be going?
Just one direction.
All right, so you don't have to worry about direction. So if you just count the pulses on that and make them be the same, you should be okay.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying is I'm not experienced enough at right now
Okay.
to do that.
Here's something really simple. Think of it, don't get worried about PID. Just do P. So
Okay.
which is all that is you count the code, you know, and you put some number on it. So you have 2 wheels, so you can adjust that. You have to have a reference. Okay, what speed you want to go.
Yeah.
And if you're going to keep it simple, you know, you just say, I want 15 ticks per period or something like that. Just
Right.
the ticks per period. All right. And then you count the ticks, and come on, guy. Once you get your error signal, all right, it'll just automatically adjust for it. I'm trying to think about why I'm having a little
If I could,
brain
I
fart
think
here.
what you're trying to say, Doug, is that if the right wheel was doing 15 ticks, which is the target, left wheel was only
Yeah.
doing 14 ticks, you need
Yeah.
you need to give a little boost to the left wheel because they both are having equal ticks. That's sort of
Well,
like a bid
it's
control.
even simpler than that. If you think of the PID as simply a P controller, all right, the equation is P times the error, I think.
Gain.
Come on, guys, help me out.
Yeah.
P
Correct.
times error. So if you're trying to run 15, you look at it and let's say you ran 14, okay, your error would be 1. So the equation for the next value would be whatever your P value is. And so let's just say you made it 1.5. Okay. Well, let's say you made it 2, okay? So it would come through and it would be 14. Your P was 2. So it would say that the error is 15 minus 14. So that's 1. So it would add 2 to that wheel. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand your concept completely.
Okay, so but that's it. Just screw the integration, screw the differential. You're just trying to get there this Saturday.
But I don't know how to write that code to do that. I do understand the concept, and I understand. Matter of fact, you take one wheel and you say, okay, this is kind of the master or the standard, and then we'll change this wheel, this motor to match whatever this is doing.
Okay, that's not the best way, but that way is you only run one PID loop in it, or one P loop in our case. Otherwise, because you're using, let's say you're using the right wheel as the, it turns out that what you're really using it for is the reference.
Yes.
So whatever it runs, that's the reference. And whatever the other one is different from that, it's going to take, so you take what it ran minus the other wheel, that's the error, and you multiply it by some value, and that's the one you have to dick around with, and then it will correct. Now, typically, once you get a little bit further, you're going to want to run individually, and you want to have a set reference. So you'll have a set reference value, and the left wheel, you'll have one, whatever it is, you'll have a left error if you want to think of it that way, and you'll have a right error, and it'll pull them in that way. Mike, that would be,
But
Tuesday,
I understand what you're saying, but here's what I did.
yeah.
I live 10 minutes from Mauser.
Okay, cool.
So I looked around and I found these same motors on Mauser with this.
Yeah, that's what I use on my test
Yeah.
robot.
These are
$7.50, right?
$7
Yeah.
and 50 cents. I got it
Yeah.
from Mauser, and I drove over there today and picked them up. Ordered them and picked them up. But these are Holothec, right?
Yep. Those are
Okay.
quadrature too. So
Yeah. So here's the deal with what I'm trying to get at is these are DF robot
right.
motors, and on their website they have the code I need to steal in order to get the job done. So I don't have to worry about writing it right now.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
I can just use it to get to be in the competition, but I definitely want to research this a lot more. So, because when I do things, I want to understand what's going on in the code.
Yeah.
I don't want to just copy and paste and hope it works.
My biggest problem with Ross is that a lot of people don't know, they're using packages and they really don't know what's behind them.
Right.
And so if it works, it's great. But if it doesn't work, they're screwed.
So hopefully this will get me going.
Yeah. Well, that's
Once I can get, huh?
I'm going to tell you that, you remember I told you that I was having a lot of troubles getting my robots fixed this time?
Yeah.
Well, my test robot, which is the one that I think I've showed around a few times, that one has those motors on it. And I found out that I stripped one of the gears in it.
Oh, I think you talked about that.
Well, actually part of the gear. So though you have to be careful with those. They're not as robust as some of the other motors that we buy, but they're only $7.50.
You can buy them by the dozen.
Yeah.
But,
especially since the other motors have gone up in price so drastically. And there used to be a case of $7 versus $20, but now it's like $77 versus $50. It's getting to be kind of hairy on buying good motors. So
anyway, thank you for the input. I was kind of just wanting to show where I was kind of at, and it was kind of cool to be able to drive on down to Mauser and just pick these up.
Oh yeah, that's great. By the way, if you strip a gear, I can tell you can use the gears out of the other one.
Okay.
So
well, actually today I bought 4, just in case,
Yeah.
And
what a good idea.
So hopefully, you're using these, huh? From the same company?
Yep, same thing, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you.
All right.
While he's getting that, my guess, never having done it myself, because I haven't done that piece.
They're on this idea robot. You remember I've shown this one. Now this one's actually got some parts taken off of it because I was messing with it. But you can see it's the same motors.
Oh, cool.
So and they work great. This is going to compete. It's going to be one of the competitors. And so
what are you gonna compete that one in? Put that one in?
Just 4 squares. Just 4 squares.
Okay.
Yeah. And
it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's I use this robot to kind of work on my code. But it got too complicated because I was kept adding features and adding features and adding features. And now when something goes wrong, it's a pain in the butt to tear it all apart and try to get it back going again. So hopefully he'll be, when he comes this Saturday, he'll be complete.
Well, hopefully I'll make it. I'm going to be there if I don't have nothing.
Yeah.
See, Jack, my problem was just getting it to go in a straight line. And after I get in a straight line, I can figure out how to hang a left all around the cones, So,
Oh yeah.
Appreciate it, Doug. The other Doug had something else he was going to say.
Oh, I was going to say, never having done it myself, to me, the trickiest part would be reading the encoders because it involves interrupts, I believe, which I've never messed with. And interrupts, you count the ticks. And so then you have them available for all that other math.
Yeah.
I don't think it's tricky. I've just never done it.
Well, I'll be quite honest. There are lots of code out there, but the guy that makes the Teensy, he has a library that's good on both ARM and Arduino, and you can set it up without encoders, but that's not as accurate. You can set it up with, 2 interrupts or 4 interrupts. Right, so that's where using an Arduino is a problem, because an Arduino only has
Two.
it has two interrupts. So, that means there is that code that is, and you don't have to, you can just download it. His program is the guy that makes Teensy. So look up Teensy, look up his encoder library, and read through it. Put it in your library directory, and you're off and running. With the commands are really simple.
Thanks a lot. I'm gonna do that.
I mean, I've used that for a couple of years now, and I just, I look at it as a solved problem, something that you don't screw with anymore.
But like I was saying, I'm kind of guy like I want to understand what's going on, and not just copy and paste. But I'm just kind of strapped for time on this deal.
Yeah, and the problem that I think that you run into when you use your interrupts on an Arduino, if I recall, it either takes out your SPI, or, excuse me, I think it takes out your I2C or your only
serial port.
Yeah, your serial port, and then that's the problem you have with the Mega is a much better chip to use for that sort of stuff.
Oh, sorry, it takes out pins 2 and 3 on the Uno.
Yeah.
What's kind of nice about the Mega is you've got 6 interrupts. So.
Right.
Yeah.
On the Uno, I'm using the serial port, and what I use is a pin change interrupt routine instead of the hardware interrupt.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, Pat. The biggest problem with that, well, if you have multiple pins in the port that you're using for your interrupt, then you have to determine which pin is what when it goes through the routine. Okay. But if you pick, like, for each port that's got pin change, if you just pick one pin out of that port, then you're only looking at one pin. So if it's trips, that's the pin you got. So that's another way to extend the number of interrupts. But you find out that everything is tied to something else, and it gets a little weird, because everything's multifunctioned. But that's a good way, Pat.
The other option is to use one of the STM chips like the Blue Pill or something, and any pin can be a hardware interrupt.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Hey
that's
guys, is my audio better if I turn my video off?
Your audio is more intelligible now. We're hearing most of your syllables.
Most of them. That's good.
I got 2 words for you, Ray. Starlink.
Starlink, I know. I just saw an advertisement for it. It's like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, Ray sounds a little like a robot sometimes.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to ditch T-Mobile for anything that works better. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Michael, if there's anything we can do to help, we're here for you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Well, I shouldn't have tried to get started so soon. We could help me out a lot better. But,
Hey, and Well, I'd say this: if you're able to come, whatever you have, bring it.
I am. Just sits there. I'm going to bring it.
Yeah, bring it. We'll brainstorm in person if we can.
But I'm at least going to be a spectator, if nothing else. But one thing I'm going to do is this is just going to be the beginning to, I'll build on this and keep going. Give me something to play with. So.
Yeah. All right, I got something later I want to put in, Carl. I have something I need to show.
Okay.
But, well, just getting started again, Michael, that's the thing. Just getting something that'll do something, that's what we need to do.
I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything with Arduino or any of that stuff since before COVID. So
yeah.
I'm like, I'm looking over old code just to refresh myself.
Yeah.
Encoder right there.
You can imagine, you can be surprised at how much you could get done between now and Saturday if you really put to it.
Hey, I've been messing with this thing since last Tuesday, so off and on. But I'm retired, so I got time to burn.
Yeah.
Well, I think as far as the contests go, it's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you can't be an athlete, at least be an athletic supporter.
I remember back when I started coming to the
I'm gonna have to cut off on that one.
was when I first started coming to the Robot Club, and my first competition was the line following. I was so stressed out to get, this is gonna be good. And then I found out people were coming and bringing their robots, and they got half the code written. And they go, well, this is how far I got with it. And it was all in fun. I was getting kind of serious about the competition part. And I finally realized that this was all just having fun.
Michael, I'm with you. So I'll jump into the quick update because my competition entry on Saturday will be very much in the athletic supporter all in fun kind of category. So I had it there last night. Like I said, John and I and David Anderson and my wife's 11-year-old cousin were there. And so I have the 4-wheel Mechanim robot. It's downstairs, so I won't put on the video, but I'm planning to do Foursquare by having it spin around and go around the corners. And well, all I managed to do was to like when I tried this 2 weeks ago, when it would go around, it would hit certain parts of the floor and get stuck because the floor was so non-flat that it would hang up on 2 wheels, and then the other 2 wheels would just sit there and spin, and it wouldn't go anywhere. So the thing I tried last night was to change, like there's a ratio of how many spins for how far does it go linearly. So last night I changed it to where instead of spinning a little bit as it was moving a lot, I have it spinning a lot as it was moving linearly a little bit. And the good news is that it didn't get stuck at all last night. So
Did you find us?
Even though it hit the non-flat spots, as it's turning around, there's always a different part of it. Had enough spinning momentum that even if it might get stuck ever so briefly, it just moments later another wheel would catch. But the bad news is that because I was spinning it faster, this like precession thing that David and I have been talking about seemed to be off. So I'd started off on here and asked it to go basically this way. And instead it would go like this. So I have to cart, and I'm not going to change the code, right? It's all in fun, athletic supporter. So I'm going to just set it down crooked, and then it'll go as straight as it can. But it'll be lucky to not hit the cone and get within a robot or two's length of the starting point.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, I'm just glad that cousin might beat me with his. He might do better with his little no encoder, no PID loop, $70 STEM robot.
Yeah,
I give it
so
my best shot with that, with what I got, and it wasn't playing. It wasn't playing the game.
You had to tweak it a lot to get it straight.
yeah,
bottom.
but does it really have no encoder, or is there a code behind the scene to help it
John, it has no encoders.
whatsoever? Wow.
It's
I'm
a
impressed
it's a
it was
brushed
doing good
it's a brushed motor with 2 wires,
Okay.
black one and a
because
red one.
I was thinking in my head code sort of that helps it along.
I'm
They
sure
did a
the
good
quality of
job.
the motor has a whole lot to do with how consistent.
It could, yeah.
John,
And
did
you
you
still
ever
have
get
variance, right? Because it would tend to go one way, but on this one it'd be that much, on this one it'd be that much. Sometimes it would go that much. So I told him, look, you just run it 5 times or 10 times, and then pick a number where most of the time it's more or less right.
Right.
And then
I
enjoy
would
yourself.
I would get it. I got it running straight, but every now and then it would like go off for no
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I just give up. And started looking into encoders.
Tickers, yeah.
Yeah.
John, did you ever get yours running straight that you demonstrated last Tuesday night?
Yeah, but I've already switched over to indirectly a different one. So I'll show you the new one. So I don't lose the battery. Well, here's the bigger one. It has this reels. Gives it a little more straight line in the process without co-even. So it's more like, yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm working on right now.
It was smooth last night. It was moving nicely.
Yeah, it's smoother. It's not as jerky as the other one. One thing I do have, whether or not this helps, let me show you this. I'm thinking about it. Let present now. A window. I think this is where I want to go. Yes. Here. So there's this one. So you may want to look into this one. Because he actually uses those cheap reels. And it's,
Do you have to know Spanish?
he has rear voice, but so he has that. So you might look at something like that.
Can you put that in the text over there, the messages?
Let's see if I can't go back. That's why I type in, yeah. It was that name and that one there. He has a couple out there. Talks about velocity and stuff like that. So Carl, do you get that?
No.
Or well,
Thinking you just give me a moment here.
well, I'll plop it in there. Copy, paste. Well, that's the name I search on. Got it.
Okay.
I actually had the name somewhere else, but it was easier to find it by name.
What's Bing?
Oh,
Sí,
wait, let me
muchas
Google it.
gracias.
Are you there? Okay. Heard noise. So anyway, so that's basically what I have. And yeah, I'm working on the robot.
Cool. Okay, who else? Anyone else have some luck either with Starlink or their robot or wish list or cow chasing or anything like that?
I got a
Wish
question.
list.
If nobody's...
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'll let you go first since I've already gone.
I was just wondering about standard radio control, and I think David is not here tonight. He's normally got the most experience with the standard radio, hobby radio controls, but my question was about fail-safes, and what kinds of receivers have multiple channel fail-safe options, and how you go about finding what the capabilities of those are. So, for example, if you lose the signal from the transmitter for whatever reason, what does it direct the servo to go to, and is that programmable? And I'm just talking about straight up receivers, not anything with extra processors on board or anything like that.
Just off the shelf, built in.
Yeah.
Well, I've got no information or no experience, but my thought would be that if you're using a radio transmitter and receiver, the receiver's on the robot's taking direction from the receiver. So if it quits getting information for X amount of time, and you set the X, then you tell it to stop.
Yeah, well, I know for sure that it exists for like land based, so basically like cars, remote control cars, that kind of stuff. So that typically the throttle will have a safety on it, and or a fail safe, and that means if it loses signal, it'll go to some preset position for the throttle, so it doesn't keep running away from you. And my assumption is they're adjustable, but I was looking for, I know David does a lot with RC helicopters and things like that. Aviation units are more complicated, and I was looking for something with multiple channels. So I was hoping somebody would have some guidance around that. It's a little off topic. It's not really robotics. It's
Off topic.
Components feeding, but it seems like David is the most advanced RC guy.
Yeah.
My RC stuff is decades out of date.
The entire purpose for this is to have a backup fail-safe safety for the excavator.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, we want. So we've already got one safety working.
That's you sitting in the box. Is that the?
No. We've actually, I've got video of the excavator moving without anybody in it.
Ooh.
I'm not going to show it because we don't want to spill the beans on it, but it's not. I've determined that was me as a mentor running it. For the kids to be able to run it, I want to have two safeties, and I want the second safety to be completely, from a different source, not based on the robot control system that we're using, but just classic RC. So that if either one of those, both of them will be configured as deadman switches, so they both got to be held in place to keep the unit going. So yeah, I wanted a very simple RC based one for the backup.
If you show an excavator driving without a person in it doing all the stuff, how big and what color of star is that going to be?
We already got a star for it last weekend, so I think we.
I understand, but there was a driver in there. This is like,
This is without,
this is next level. I'm just saying.
2 stars. So I don't know if this helps you at all, Kareem, but when I was looking for last year's outdoor Robo Columbus thing, I came across a handful of little things like this, and
that is a RC or a failsafe, right?
It's a switch.
Oh, it's just okay.
It's a switch, but there are. I could swear I found some that. I don't remember finding one that's as clean of a fail-safe as you described, but I mean there was something like this where how did this one work? Anyhow, it was able to switch power through standard connectors, but you might have had to give it a servo command one way or the other. And if the servo command, I don't know what would happen if the servo command disappeared.
Yeah, I agree with Doug. It sounds like you could easily, you just are using like pulse thin or kind of the equivalent. You're on a given channel, you're just looking for a certain pulse width, and if that disappears, then you could say this is the safe position, say for track left, or it's neutral, and same thing for track right or something.
No, we've already it. So you're talking about our primary safety is part of the robot control system. And yeah, and basically that's it's getting its remote control commands from another Android device with a custom protocol over Wi-Fi Direct.
Right? Oh, okay.
And so there's a built-in watchdog timer and other things to make sure that we're getting signals from the primary remote control. But what I'm asking about now is having a completely separate safety. So these mini excavators, they have built in two different safeties. One is an emergency stop button for the motor, and then the other is the primary safety is a lever that you've got to put down after you're in the seat to engage the hydraulic motor or the hydraulic pump.
Yeah.
So you can disable the unit, either way or both ways.
Yeah.
So we want the second one to be not based at all on the standard robot control system. Assume that it's seized up entirely in some strange configuration that we can't test, or a more straightforward example would be if let's say that while it was holding the safety disengaged, the servo gearbox broke and shattered and got stuck in that position, so it couldn't release. Then we got to have some sort of alternate, a backup way to kill it. So, we've got the two mechanisms that are built into the excavator. And so, yeah, I just want to what is that?
Yeah. So this is the schematic for this little guy right here. It was like $15 on Amazon. And what you could do, I suppose, is like, let's say you had a switch on your RC transmitter that was spring loaded, so that you would have to hold the switch in a certain position to throw it in a certain direction. I think you could make it so that spring loaded would engage the circuit, and then if you ever let go of it, or if the signal dropped out, it would disengage the circuit.
Kind of like a dead man switch.
That's we want it configured as a dead man, but so that's the trick is, will it automatically open if the transmitter signal goes away?
Yeah, that is
what I found with RC receivers is they either, their range is 1,000 to 2,000 microseconds typically, and they'll either, if they lose the signal, go to 1,500 or 1,000, or some of them will just drop the PWM entirely and go to 0, which is the ones I tended to use for control switch. So I'd have a separate channel for a on-off control, like a dead man switch, and then I'd check that it was either high, or if it was low or went away, then I figured the signal was lost.
Yeah, but again, you're putting a microcontroller back into that loop,
right? Yeah,
that circuit, and I don't even want to do that. I want it to just be a native function of the receiver. Okay. So I just wanted to know how to purchase that, how to look for that, what the language is.
Correct.
And sometimes when you lose signal on the receiver, it takes a second or two for it to realize it lost the signal.
Ooh, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Kareem, I would look up drones. How when a drone flies beyond its control?
Yeah, they all have onboard controllers.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like what Ted was just talking about. So the controller is interpreting the deciding whether or not the signal's gone or whatever. And I was pretty sure, it's just been a long time since I've messed with just straight up RC, but I was recalling that some of them have, and
Yeah, I
and
think
I was just
all-
hoping to find an aviation one that would let me do it
Yeah.
on multiple channels.
You could
one of
just
the
look for a
things-
missing pulse on one of their channels on the receiver. If your transmitter is off or is not communicating, you won't have a pulse train coming out of all your channels.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm again one more. I'm trying to do this without throwing another microcontroller.
Without a
in.
processor, yeah.
Some of the
Yeah.
receivers though have a fail safe, so they'll go to like 1500 or 1000 microseconds.
Yeah,
per foot.
that's what I'm looking for is those kinds of.
I'm not sure, but Kareem, that might be built into the ESC.
Oh, it is.
How little of a microcontroller are you
So, like,
looking to
if the
put in?
micro-
You could do it
if
with
it
like a
doesn't see a
555 timer.
It just goes to neutral.
That's what Kareem was saying, is that on the throttle, but I think Kareem, you said you were looking for one that does that on any or all channels.
Yeah,
built
that's what
in.
I was hoping for.
Yeah, fewer parts, no extra stuff, simple as possible.
Yep.
No
The
software.
whole point with the safety, I've already got the primary safety is fancy, and it's in other words, it's checking lots of different things, and it is reliant on the embedded for a robot. But I want the other one to be dead simple stupid.
In that case, I'll be your dead man switch.
Well, yeah, I was the dead man switch before, and that was dead simple stupid. So
Yeah, I'm not
yeah.
concerned about the simple and stupid. It's the dead part I'd be worried about.
So you're actually trusting your students with this excavator? Yeah.
So there's some site-based safeties and operational safeties we'll put in place. It's like the site is my backyard, and it's so steep that the only they'd have to find the road to get all the way back up. So they're not going to damage the house unless they can steer it really, really well. And there's nothing downhill from us except a river. And forest and a creek basically. So it could do a 20 foot drop into a creek bed, but it's not gonna be able to get to any of our neighbors' houses. So then it's really
That's
just
good.
a matter of can the kids run faster than it? But yeah, the whole point is to have it all kidding aside, have multiple safeties in place and good operational controls and all that, and make sure that everything will be safe, despite their and I'll obviously be the one who will be actually doing the startup on it, and controlling the key and stuff like that. So they'll be well supervised.
Well, whenever you get an answer to this question, I'm really curious, Kareem. Because
Sure, it's probably super simple, and maybe I should just right now I only have to have one more safety, so maybe I'll just go with a standard RC car style that has that runaway prevention.
So I know how the ACE receiver behaved that I assembled in the 5th grade, but that was I don't know, a while ago.
So did that thing have tubes in it, or were transistors?
Oh no, it was solid state.
They were invented by the solid state.
It had a few transistors in it.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
And the servos ran on 555s inside, so of course.
Oh, they did, really? Wow.
Yeah, they would. I mean, because it was literally a 50 hertz pulse with 1 to 2 millisecond timing, and then it had to have, if that pulse, if the transmitter shut off, then there was no. It was so simple. There was no more pulse at all. So there was no pulse, and without any pulse, the 555 did whatever it did. And I can't remember exactly because that was a while ago. But I remember we had in Popular Electronics, there was some kind of circuit that we found where you could assemble an alarm so that if that servo command dropped and you stopped getting that regular pulse train from the receiver, the circuit that we assembled would detect that and then turn on the ultrasonic, because it meant that your plane was about to coast for a few miles and you would have to chase it into the bushes somewhere or the cornfield. But it's a little different now with these serial servo S-bus on Futaba and all these other fancy schmancy things like the speed controllers.
Yeah, and I was what the latest standards trends were, that kind of stuff as well.
Okay. Homework cut out. Look forward to response.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Any other comments or question, guys?
Well, getting back to wish lists.
Wish list.
I was going to get the iCreate educational version of the Roomba for Father's Day. And I said, wait, because now that I'm back on my saddle with this other thing again, I don't have time to mess with it. So it will happen eventually. It will require me learning ROS too. And it's just a wish that's being delayed. But it could be a base of a telepresence robot, anything that can move. Or my harp robot that I've always wanted to do.
What was that? I didn't quite catch that, Doug. HARP?
Oh, the HARP is HARP. It stands for Home Robotic Personality. It's my Siri that roams around the house. Okay. That's going to be my security robot and Siri type butler and all that kind of stuff. That's what I started with, my theory of what I was going to do when I joined this club. So far, everything has been practiced toward that. Yeah. Learn this, learn that. Pretty soon now, I'm going to get to the voice control stuff. Pico Voice has got me interested, but now that I'm back to getting Roby to working, Pico Voice is put off, and ROS 2 is after that. So it'll be a while before I get to the ROS 2 stuff.
Okay.
Next.
Well, I got something I kind of want to show real quick.
What do you got, Doug?
Okay, let me. Okay. This is a teaser. You're only going to see it for a few seconds. So get ready. Everybody ready? I can't see you guys, so I can't tell if you're ready.
We're ready.
Yep.
It's little. There we go.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Was that was surprise?
Huh?
I have to wait for the video.
Coffee cup.
I'll show you again, okay? One quickie here.
I've seen it. Wow.
Screenshot. Nailed it.
So
Looks
that's,
pretty good.
2000. Yeah, I got somebody who was good. Somebody who was good to design it for me. So you'll have the DPRG logo on one side and that on the other. So that's the 2022 Robo Columbus mug.
Can you buy them, or is it just
you gotta get 1 point or more.
Wow.
Oh,
For the
man.
So it's not a high. It's not a high bar, but it's a bar. You have to be able to drive. If you can get your robot 100 yards downstream, you can probably get one. Hopefully. We only gave out. Yeah, that's in October.
That's about 96 yards more than I did, but
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. So, and Ted can start his collection. He's already got the 2021 one.
Maybe I'll give up on this competition and start working on the.
No.
Hey, one more week. One more week. Just hang with it.
One more week.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. But so I got that recently, and I thought I'd show it.
It looked good. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy one when I just seen it.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it's an incentive. Because that's not a prize. That's not, I mean, it's not the prize. You get a prize besides that if you win. That's the, I don't know, what will you call it? It's sort of the,
A little more than a participation trophy.
yeah, a little more than a participation. You got to actually score a point. Huh?
A really nice trophy.
Yeah. So,
I say we leave participation trophy out of it or award out of it because I always make fun of the 4-year-olds that get a participation award for playing t-ball when they don't keep score.
yeah,
Life keeps score.
yeah.
Well, you do have to keep score because you got to touch the first cone.
Well, yeah, and it comes in 3 versions. The one I showed you, that's the at least 1 point. If you get a perfect score, it has text on the bottom that says perfect score. And if you do the 3 waypoint challenge, which means that you don't walk the course, you don't use multiple waypoints, you only use 3 waypoints. That's it. The cone waypoints, and your robot gets there regardless of what's in the way. That's the 3 waypoint challenge, and that would be on it too. So you get a perfect score, 3 waypoint challenge. I'm hoping somebody, we've had several people get 9 points. It'd be really interesting to see somebody go ahead and get the 3 waypoint challenge.
So Doug, do we have to touch the cone with the robot or just get within a certain proximity?
For 1 point, you can get, you don't even have to stop. If you drive within 10 feet of the cone, so let's say you just kept going, okay?
Yeah.
You just kept going. But you were within 10 feet, that's 1 point. If you get within 10 feet and stop, that's 2 points. If you touch the cone and stop, that's 3 points. So like if you run through and touch the cone and keep going, so you end up beyond 10 feet. I'll take that back. Read the rules. I know that if you get 3 points if you stop and you touch the cone and then go off, but I can't remember what the rules are on the 1 and 2. I know that if you hit the cone, it doesn't count as touching. If you hit the cone and just keep going, you only get like a total 1 point for.
Like if you drove over the cone.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
So you have to read the rules because, like I say, I can't remember the details.
Okay, I'm just wondering if I need to put a bumper on the front to identify that I've touched the cone.
Well, you don't have to, but it's just most people try to put a bumper on it because it's just easier. I mean, most people that I've seen in the past have used something like an ultrasonic to tell that they're touched the cone, or they've used a bumper. That's what I've seen, but that doesn't mean that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, and if you use a bumper, you want to make sure you only read the bumper when you're close to the cone. Otherwise, bouncing up and down, your bumper might go off, and that happened to me.
Yeah, that is a problem. And also, it turns out that the wind is really bad on ultrasonic sensors too. So you just, if you have a really windy day, I guess the that they hear all the time can mess them up. So that's what Scott was saying threw him off last year. Anyway, we'll see.
I think you should get extra points for driving around the back of the cone and touching it from the back.
Be cool.
Yeah. Rule update.
Okay.
So I guess if you want to defeat what's his name's robot. You just go out there and bring a white noise generator with you. And,
Well, that would probably defeat everybody. And you got to be, you know, last year nobody really got there, so it wasn't a problem. But
Yep.
our Steve had put the pink flamingo near the second cone, so you know I could see where
Close
a
enough.
robot could have seen the pink flamingo and gone off to that instead of the cone. It would have been interesting.
Mhm.
So we'll see how it goes.
So all you guys with the smart cameras, the Oak-D lights should mean it that the pink flamingo is not the cone.
Right, not cone.
Not code. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, just whetted your appetite. Okay.
Let's see, anything else?
Yeah.
I found a little answer for Kareem here in some forum. It's saying the output depends on the receiver. What they do with no signal varies. The output could be random noise pulse, last known good pulse, pulse setup in fail-safe mode, or no pulse. So, so this might help you here. This link, maybe not.
Yeah, so it depends on the receiver, as I think what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't always see those details, like if you're trying to get it through Amazon or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess I can go back through the manufacturer's website and find out. I can deal with. I don't want it to hold the last known good pulse. That's exactly the wrong thing. The kind of servo, some digital servos will do that. So
Automatically.
even if you have a receiver that says, let's stop sending a pulse, the servo will hold it anyhow. But we're using digital servos that we've confirmed do not do that, so that's good. So you know, if we could find a just drops the pulse, then that would be okay. And I think some do have a programmable fail-safe position you can
Yeah.
set it to go to.
Okay.
Would be the-
It's a quest.
But
I like
thank
the
you.
quest. Okay, let's see. Anyone else?
Well, I was wanting to show you this. Anybody ever seen one of these shields that are screw terminals on the top like that? I bought this years ago and I never used it. I pulled it out of a tote and it worked pretty good. Because all the pinouts are like that, and they're you know, the screw terminals. Anybody ever
Can you
seen
put-
one?
Can you pull it back just a little bit? I think with,
And then speak up.
I don't know.
You mean like that?
It's pretty cool. I like the way it works. You just, you know, it's a shield, and you, it's just got all the pinouts are right here. You just screw them in and out.
Mhm.
I bought those years ago. I bought that years ago, and I just found it in a tote the other day and stuck it on here. So.
Get it close. Like this. I love
Harold.
this. For every Raspberry Pi I have at least one of these things. There's one here. I've got one on the donkey car. I don't have one on.
Yeah.
I don't have one on Zemo because I just don't have room for it.
That's pretty cool.
But this is actually my to-go. This is my go setup as when I go around doing presentations and talking things. I got a couple of servos on here, little Arduino thing. Gotta put some lights on there depending on what I'm showing off and deving on. That's what I've got. That's what the thing's set up for. Yeah, I love these things. I think they're awesome with the screw terminal because it gives you a quasi permanent install without having to do a solder thing and all that other kind of stuff. Because I mean, I don't know how many times you've had breadboards literally give out on you.
Oh yeah.
Things, right?
But,
And I mean, that goes in the suitcase, the backpack, and I tote it around and do whatever. Throw it out on the thing, plug it into the wall, or plug it into wherever, and hopefully everything works. So my demo works. You know, that kind of thing. It's going to make my demos a lot feel a lot better, and the wife will be more happy because it constrains all the wiring and stuff to a little bit instead of just stuff as wiring. Yeah, the wife just said she worried about my wiring, and I think she's talking about the wiring in my brain.
That's right.
She's like, well, now that you mention it.
Maybe the man cave where you flip the light and the rest of the house dims.
Yeah. Oh, I did see an instructable the other day that's showing you how to use some washers and a few other things, and a good way to do some hydrogen mining, so to speak. And I'm like, you know, it wouldn't produce very much, but it sure could be fun to get a big bottle of that and scare the neighbors. You know.
So you briefly alluded to problems with the breadboards. I was just thinking that I might use a breadboard on my computer because it needs so many powers and grounds that could be a centralized spot to provide a whole bunch of them. You're saying they get like loose?
Well, it depends. Adafruit just started stocking some newer breadboards that are higher quality, that the clips on them normally are just flat like that, and you have to push them in there, and after so long they just don't hold very well. And they actually have it buckled there, so they have a nice smoother way to go in, and they've got them, and they didn't seem to be too expensive for a higher quality breadboard. The other thing is those things have a bandwidth depending on how much you choose, what you're trying to do with them. So if you're pushing signals through them, I don't remember what it is exactly, but after so much, because of all the metal close to one another, you know, you get signal crosstalk and all that kind of thing. At least that's what I've read everywhere. I've never experienced it myself. That's what I've read.
Yeah, it could actually be below a megahertz.
Yeah. I didn't take very much. You had to go very fast for that thing started happening.
Yep.
So,
And that doesn't happen with the multiple posts?
They might be a little further apart.
yeah, they are. They're definitely a little further apart.
Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah. But if you're having multiple grounds and multiple power and all that kind of stuff, I would.
Yeah, I've tried soldering together like 3 wires onto one, and it's kludgy, and my soldering skills are not that great. So an alternative would be to have a long band where I could just plug a bunch of things into the power of the ground.
Well, I've started using some of these things to do that sort of thing. I don't know how good they are, how bad they are. Let me give you a thing going on here. And I bought a bunch of these. Well, you know, when you buy them from AliExpress, you buy a bunch of them. And that's pretty much a bus. It's pretty much a bus. They handle a large variety of wires. Put one of them in there, snap it in, they'll hire up to it. These things, this one will hold up to like a 16 or 14 gauge wire or something. And you clamp down on it, that's pretty clamping. If you're just running power and ground, you know, you get a bag of them for, I don't know how much, but it wasn't very much. I think shipping probably was more than the thing was. And it makes a real nice, good click on there. And so I think you get that might be something you want to look into. And they do have facilities with some places where you can bolt some things down and these things clip into them and that kind of stuff. But I haven't, I don't have a clip for these. I got a clip for the smaller ones.
Are those in series?
Oh yeah, they're serious. It's a bus.
They're a bus. Okay.
It's a bus. So any hole goes to any hole.
Okay, it's independent.
Yeah, you put it in any hole you want, and whatever hole. I mean, basically, there's just a big old piece of metal in the back side of this thing.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, and if I can't remember where I found them. In fact, what do they call these things? There's a bag that says they're made in China. That's what they are.
You get them on like eBay or something?
They call them level connectors, and I think you get them on eBay. I think these probably came from AliExpress, or maybe I got them on eBay. And I've got, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got some 4 ones. I got some 8 ones. They come in different sizes. They come in different sizes, and depending on what you're doing and your route, and they're supposed to handle up to like, I don't know, house wiring, like 15 amps or something.
Ooh,
You know, because it'll hold a 12 gauge wire at least. Oh, I said 12. I think a 14 gauge wire. It's a big enough hole for it. They all have ratings on them to get them. But I think it was a nice, easy way to put them together, and it had a nice, firm, solid connection for doing grounds and hots and that kind of stuff. Especially when if you put in 1 5 volts and you're running a bunch of 5 volts around, or 1 12 and running a bunch of 12. You know, it looks like a good idea to me. I'm only using it for one of my robots that hasn't ran in a while, but that's a whole nother story. Not because of this. And I think I got these because my ADD-ness was just looking around and said, ooh, that looks neat, so let me order a big bag of them.
Carl, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, so Jack, looks like you got to go, so we'll see you next week, not Saturday though, I guess. He's muted too. All right. Well, guys, going around the table, anything else we should chat about tonight, or should we just race to go work on our robots for Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be a marathon.
Well, you might need a little detour to get Starlink, but after that.
Yeah. I'm actually going to look into that. I saw a commercial for it just before we got on, and it sounded great. It's about what I pay for 2 phones and 50 gig per phone through T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Well, I won't be there Saturday, but good luck, guys.
Appreciate it.
Have fun.
Okay. Hopefully we won't see on the news where an excavator, goes crazy. or
Excavator
something.
accident, yeah.
So
Robot excavator runs amok.
That's right. Yeah.
Levels town hall. Yeah.
Saturday is when exactly are we aiming at?
Well, it's in the meeting invite, right? So basically, there's I think set up around 9.
Okay, 9.
Weigh-in starts around 11.
Okay.
Check-in, free pizza around noon.
Okay.
And contest stuff around 1. I think.
Okay, and then I don't know about when he put down here, see you on Monday. I'm okay on that part, but okay.
It's all right.
Okay.
Guys, if there's nothing else, I'm going to suggest we call it evening early tonight and
Yep.
catch you Saturday or latest Tuesday. Take care then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.